No, we haven't had that discussion yet because until 10 days ago, we didn't know this was going to move this direction. So it was basically a waste of time. And so, we knew a week ago that this was going to happen. So it's been talked about, but not anything worth talking about yet because we're a year or a couple years away from that league really coming together. I will say this, that we have brought 4 schools in from very heavily populated parts of the country with great viewership in different locations that we've never been in. And I say, when you talk about Central Florida, you talk about Cincinnati, and you talk about Houston, or you talk about huge populations in viewership from television. And then with BYU, you have their following with the church that's coast to coast. So essentially we hit a home run on this league, no question about it. How we try to attack it in recruiting, we would probably get a feel for how young men in Central Florida or in Ohio would feel about coming to school here and get a barometer and a feel for it, because I don't want to fly all the way across the country if I can get the same product within a 4-hour drive. And there's a lot of players within a 4-hour drive of us now. So we would have to feel the water and get a good idea of what the interest level is before we make that decision. A little easier to Houston because you get a direct flight, right? And a little easier to Salt Lake City because you get a direct flight. The other one's, a little bit more of a risk, but we'll see. Maybe we can find young men that makes the pool that we choose from a little bigger, that say, I'll come to Oklahoma State and go to school. But I don't want to go down there, and then somebody says, well, you just flew over 50 schools to get there. Why would you go there? I mean, that's kind of the things we have to look at. I'm going to repeat myself now, but when I said we hit a home run, we hit a home run in a lot of areas. The concern, which I said this in July, was not having a destination and landing point in recruiting to be able to tell young men this is who we are. That's an issue. I never tried to say it wasn't an issue. From the start, I said that is an issue. I didn't think we would have this accomplished until next year, which is what I said. I was wrong. But I also mentioned that no matter what, Oklahoma State's going to land somewhere and be just fine. There's too many things going here in football. Whenever this conference realignment starts, whatever it ends up, it might change again in 25. If you just start looking at where media rights are, could change again. Oklahoma State's going to be fine. We have too good of a product. We won too many games and too many people watch us. But the way it turned out couldn't be any better, in my opinion, for the Big 12, for a Power 5 conference standing. And we all know that the budget becomes a big issue. So we're in a very solid and sound budget situation for years to come until it starts to all turn over again in 25 or could be 24. Now I don't know. Nobody knows, but it probably will turn again. Oklahoma State will be just fine, because those are the things that people talk about recruiting. You can hide it all you want, but you need to be in a Power 5, which we are. The Big 12's got a big name, which it is. And we now know our destination, and you don't get budget cuts in your athletic department. It's a big deal. So we took care of all that. Now moving forward, Central Florida, based on being in our conference now, it's only going to get better for them. I mean, they're located in a huge population. They've got great football in that part of the country. They already have 70,000 students. And BYU is, in my opinion, looked at as a Power 5 conference school, their logo, for a long time. And they have a huge following from coast to coast. And you have Cincinnati now that's played well for a number of years, and they have a huge populated area and a great big television market there. So now, how is that going to improve their logo? I bet it improves their marketing people. I'm just guessing are fired up at Cincinnati now to start marketing that for their logo. And then Houston has been wanting in our league for a number of years, right? Supposedly. And they're sitting right in the Big 12 country, and they got tons of population and tons of high school football to recruit from, and a lot of viewers down there. I mean, the only thing, they battle the Astros and the Texans, and the Rockets, but for the most part, it couldn't have happened any better for Oklahoma State and the remaining 8 schools, in my opinion. And I don't want to speak for those other schools, but I know for Oklahoma State, the future's a home run.
How much does that Power 5 label matter to them?
It matters to them. Yeah, young people nowadays are into those things, which people in my generation would say doesn't really matter. But your generation likes those kind of things. So we have to adapt to your generation because that's the generation we're recruiting right now. They like those kind of things. This can go on and on. The economic value of this conference staying intact for Stillwater, Waco, Dallas-Fort Worth's a little different with TCU, but Manhattan, Lawrence, okay, it's important a lot of ways. When you talk about economy and restaurant business and just all the things that keep these areas turning, this was a huge get for, I'm going to speak for Stillwater, because I know a lot of people in Stillwater that are in private business and small business owners and not even that, some of your bigger businesses, companies that are here. It's a big deal for us to stay sound in a big conference and play football games. And so to answer your question, in my opinion, from an economic and a marketing value for what you're talking about is very important, that we try to establish what the presidents and the ADs and the Big 12 was able to get accomplished. You know, we've had a number of players from Houston forever, and I'm not sure that they've just locked it down, but they've gained ground just based on the geographical location of where everything is. And Houston's pretty far east. So my point in that was we have to make a decision as to his question of recruiting is a business. We get a certain number of days, a certain number of hours that we can go out and try to sell our product. And the poor example I use is just like door-to-door vacuum cleaners. I can't spend all my time somewhere going door to door where they're not going to buy any vacuum cleaners, or I don't get to pay rent and eat food. I'm broke. So that's a poor business decision. So we have to decide what geographical locations in the country based on this realignment give us the best chance to sell quality vacuum cleaners so we can keep our company running. Well, that's what it is in recruiting. So we're just going to have to see. I said that the other day because now you have Texas. They're in there. They're in South Central. So you have them and A&M all the way sweeping down through there. So I think most of us would agree it'd be a little tougher based on them jumping in that league. Not to say you wouldn't do it, but you just have to decide where your strengths are. And we'll still go into Houston. We'll always recruit Houston. It's just a matter of how much we do based on what the mental approach is with all the young men we're recruiting down there.
For more information, you can visit TulsaWorld.com.